Welcome to this video demonstrating how to navigate around OpenClinica and how to successfully complete data entry for the FROSTTIE trial. First, a quick explanation of what OpenClinica is, as well as an introduction to some key terminology. OpenClinica is an open source clinical trials application for electronic data capture and data management which is accessed via a web browser. Currently, the supported web browsers are Chrome, Firefox and Internet Explorer. Before we log into OpenClinica, I will explain some key terminology used throughout the application. First, study. This refers to the trial, in this case FROSTTIE. Subject is a participant within the study. Event or study event. This refers to a data collection point such as randomization, entry or withdrawal. This will become more apparent once we open the application. CRF, this stands for Case Report Form and is a form used to collect and contain data for a study event. And finally, Discrepancy Notes. These are queries or annotations for data items where a value that has been entered is not as expected. Now let's look at the OpenClinica application. The URL for our test OpenClinica site, which we use for the training exercises, is in your training pack, as is your login details for the training exercises. Once you have successfully logged in, you'll be taken to the home page. At the top, you'll see the name of the study, FROSTTIE, and the centre name, in this case Centre 3. Underneath that, we have the navigation bar. Wherever you are in OpenClinica, clicking the Home button will bring you back to the home page for your current study. Depending on your role within OpenClinica, your home page may be slightly different. In the case of a data entry person or a clinical research coordinator, your home page will display the subject matrix, which is the next button along the navigation bar. The subject matrix is a table with event information for all subjects recruited at your site. This is where you can view, enter and edit data for subjects and their events in the study. Each row represents a subject. The first column contains the study subject ID, also known as the study number. All of the subsequent columns contain the study events for the data collection points in the study. For example, the entry form or the withdrawal form. The next button on the navigation bar is the Add Subject button. You will never need to use this button because, as we saw in the previous video, subjects are added automatically via the FROSTTIE randomization website. Similarly, above the subject matrix table is another Add New Subject button. Don't click this one either. The next button on the navigation bar is Notes and Discrepancies. This displays a table listing all discrepancy notes for this centre's subjects, which is used to track and manage any data issues. We will cover notes and discrepancies in more detail in the next training video. For now, we are going to concentrate on the subject matrix. At the moment, you can see that this centre only has 2 recruits, so it's very easy to manage. But as the study progresses, we'll have more and more subjects, and they will be displayed across multiple pages. You can see at the top of the subject matrix is a drop-down list which changes the number of subjects displayed on the page. This always defaults to 15, but you can change it to 25 or 50. To the left of this are navigation buttons. At the moment they're greyed out because we only have one page with 2 subjects, but once there are more than 15 subjects in the study, these buttons will turn green and you'll be able to use them to skip to the next page or the previous page. Once you have a lot of subjects at your site, you can also search for a study number by typing it into the grey box under Study Subject ID and either pressing Enter on your keyboard or clicking Apply Filter in the Actions column. Click Clear Filter once you are done and you'll once again see all the subjects in the subject matrix. You'll notice the different icons displayed in the study events. These represent the different statuses for data entry in an event. There is a key on the left-hand side of the page for reference, but I will quickly explain the most common statuses and what they mean. First, the green completed icon with the white tick indicates data entry has been completed. For the randomization event, the data is automatically transferred from the randomization site when a recruit is successfully randomised into the trial. In this example, the mother has also completed the entry form on her phone or tablet at the initial randomisation meeting, so this also has a green completed icon. Secondly, we have the dark blue scheduled icon. This indicates the event has been scheduled and is ready for data entry. We automatically schedule some events when a subject is added, because we're expecting data to be collected for these events for every subject. So for FROSTTIE, we will expect data to be entered by hospitals for the entry form. Events that are expected to be filled in by the participant, for example the mother's entry form and the 3 follow-up forms, as well as events that will only be filled in for a subset of participants, for example the withdrawal or SAE forms, will display the light blue icon. This means that the form can be scheduled when the event needs to be completed. For parent-entered forms, this is done automatically, but for events filled in by the hospital, this should be done manually. Finally, the orange icon with the white pencil indicates data entry has been started, but it is yet to be completed or marked as complete. So now that I've briefly explained the different data entry statuses, I'll demonstrate how to start and complete data entry for both scheduled and non-scheduled study events. To start data entry for a scheduled event, click the dark blue scheduled icon and then click View Enter Data in the yellow pop-up window. This takes you to the study event screen for the selected subject. In this case, I'm going to enter the entry form. To get started, click on the Enter Data button in the Actions column. This will open up the CRF. CRFs are divided into multiple sections. You can see the title of the section in the grey bar above the Save and Exit buttons. In this entry form, we've only got 2 sections as well as a notes section. So let's start entering section 1. This section is designed to mimic the randomisation website as much as possible and asks the user to confirm the data entered at randomisation. Whilst I'm filling in this data, you may be wondering what the little blue flags are next to each question. These are linked to Discrepancy Notes. I'll explain more about those later. I'm going to go ahead quickly and enter the rest of the questions in this section. As you can see, I've now filled in all of the questions in this section, and once you're happy with all your answers, press Save. If there are no problems with the data entered, i.e. all expected questions have been completed with valid answers, then you'll be taken to the next section, in this case section 2. I'm going to go ahead and quickly complete this section as well. Once all of the data has been added and you're happy, click Save. You can see this time I've answered some questions that have failed validation, and there are now some red exclamation marks next to them, and at the top of the page in red text there are validation messages explaining why these questions have failed validation. So I've now got the opportunity to change those values if they are incorrect. In the case of the infant's birth weight, I've made a very obvious typo, so I'm going to go ahead and correct that. But let's assume for the rest of the questions they are either correct values or I'm unable to locate the answers at the moment. So now I can click Save a second time, and upon doing so the data will save. Obviously this data will need to be chased up and amended at a later date, so OpenClinica creates a discrepancy note for any question that has failed validation and was subsequently saved. Ideally, these would have been resolved as the data was being entered. However, in this demo, I'm generating and saving far more discrepancy notes than typically expected, so I can demonstrate the resolution methods in the next episode. Where possible, it always makes sense to try and resolve these errors as they happen, rather than generating lots of discrepancy notes. The validation rules check a range of things for each question. For example, have required questions been answered? For range values, does the data fall into the expected range? And in the case of the entry form, do the answers given match those provided at randomisation? Once you have entered all the data and reach the final tab, you'll see a notes section where you can enter any relevant information not reported in the previous tabs. But most importantly, there is a Mark CRF Complete checkbox. If you tick this box, a pop-up will appear. Click OK if you're happy with the data entered, and then click Save. you'll be taken back to the study event page for the subject, where you'll notice that the status shows the green completed icon, indicating that data entry has been completed for this event. You'll also see the username of the person who completed data entry in the initial data entry column, and not applicable in the double data entry column, because forms filled in at the centre only need to be single entered. If you click the subject matrix, you'll now see this event marked as completed. Now we'll look at entering data for an unscheduled event, for example the withdrawal form. If an infant is withdrawn from the trial, then I need to schedule the withdrawal event first before completing the case report form. If I click the blue icon under the withdrawal event, I can see the schedule button where I used to see view enter data. Click this and you'll be taken to the schedule study event for this subject. You then simply need to click the proceed to enter data button and you'll be on the familiar study event page for the subject. Now the event is scheduled, I can continue as before and click the enter data icon. I'm going to quickly enter data on this form as well. As this is the withdrawal form, you'll notice a red message when I click save, letting me know that the coordinating centre will be notified when I save this form. This time during data entry, I'm going to forget to save the final section to show you what happens when a form has been started but not completed. So now on the subject matrix, you can see the icon for the withdrawal form is the orange data started icon. To continue where you left off, click this icon, click View Enter Data, and click the Continue Entering Data icon. You can see that all of the saved data is still present on the first section, so I'm just going to jump to the final section and finish the notes section by marking the CRF as complete, clicking OK on the pop-up window, saving the form, and now returning to the subject matrix. In terms of follow-up events completed by the mother, these will be scheduled automatically at various points in the trial, and the mother will complete these forms through a separate data entry system. You'll never need to touch these icons, but you'll still see their statuses on the subject matrix. That concludes the OpenClinica navigation and data entry section of the training for the FROSTTIE trial. There is one more video looking at discrepancy notes and how to resolve them.